If it's Wednesday, that means the Super Speedway Fall Classic racing from the Slingshot Racing League. Welcome, race fans. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined in the booth tonight by Chris Smith. We're bringing you live racing action in the ARCA cars from Talladega, Alabama. Dega, affectionately known to many fans as Talladega Super Speedway, stands as the lengthiest track in NASCAR, spanning 2.66 miles. Due to its considerable size, it provides ample room for cars to unleash their full horsepower. Bill France Sr., the founder of NASCAR, initially aimed to construct a super speedway in North Carolina that would be larger than Daytona. When that plan fell through, he explored various locations, including Atlanta, Birmingham, and numerous other options along Interstate 20. Destiny ultimately led him to an old airfield in Lincoln, Alabama, where the track opened on September 13th, 1969, under the name Alabama International Motor Speedway. The rest, they say, is history. In its half-century existence, Talladega has witnessed its share of eerie, unexplained, and mysterious occurrences. Some have dubbed the track as cursed, speculating that it was built atop an ancient indigenous American burial ground. One notable incident occurred during the Talladega 500 in 1973, shortly after a tragic crash claimed the life of Rookie of the Year Larry Smith. Fellow driver Bobby Isaac abruptly halted his car, stepped out, and announced his retirement, attributing it to a mysterious voice compelling him to quit, feeling compelled to heed its guidance. Chris, Dega's reputation is built on its three-wide, high-octane racing and spectacular crashes. Whether it's due to the superstition or pure racing luck, these drivers are going to need some divine intervention to make it through these 40 laps unscathed. What can we anticipate for drivers here at Talladega tonight?
Well, it's the biggest, it's the baddest, and it's the fastest super speedway in all of NASCAR racing. And like you said, there is a lot of luck that's on the line right here, but this is also a skill that some people have mastered better than others. We've seen in Slingshot Racing League, we've seen some drivers that maybe don't show the speed on some other tracks, show that they are very, very good, very skilled at these super speedways. So it's a big opportunity race for a lot of drivers. And that's kind of what this Super Speedway League is all about. These ARCA cars, they get around here really, really well. They're pretty stable on the track right here, so that's a great equalizer, and I think that you'll see some very close competition tonight. We've got about 40 laps here, 40 laps exactly, I should say. We're expecting anywhere from 18 to 23 laps on this tank of fuel. This is a smaller fuel cell than what we typically run in the Apex Energy Series on Tuesday nights. So there is at least one stop that is expected during this race, and that will be right around that stage number, right around lap 20. So it's going to be interesting to see who decides to go after stage points and who wants to maybe chase after the win.
Strategy definitely going to be at play tonight, Chris. You mentioned how close racing we're going to see in this whole series. If viewers are joining us for the first time or maybe just need a reminder, this is not our normal 15-week season. This is the Super Speedway Fall Classic, in which we've paired 5 different cars with 5 different tracks over the course of 5 weeks for one Super Speedway champion. Last week, Chris, we were at Daytona. We'll get back to that story in a minute, but this week we're at Talladega. Next week we're taking the street stocks to Michigan. So within 3 weeks, we've got 3 very different disciplines and 3 very different tracks, and that presents a unique challenge to these drivers. You can see the schedule up on the board now. Next week, we head to Michigan. After that, we go to Atlanta in the new next-gen NASCARs. We take the week off for Thanksgiving, and we wrap it all up with a championship race at Daytona under the light in the trucks. It's going to be a great season. That championship ring is going to be something that all 15 of these drivers out here, 16 drivers rather, are going to be vying for at the end of the season here in just about a month. So it's a short season. We hope you can join us for the races. And if it's your first time or you've watched us for a while, you know what time it is now. We're going to jump to a Slingshot Racing pre-race tradition. We're going to hear the national anthem, and then we're going to come back trackside to set up some stories for the race tonight. We'll catch you on the other end of the national anthem. Back here at Talladega Super Speedway, Slingshot Racing League Super Speedway Fall Classic race getting ready to get underway. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined in the booth by Chris Smith. Chris, before the national anthem, we talked about what a great finish it was last week between Edward Scherer Jr. and Steve Korosec. It was a drag race to the line. Let's just relive that for a second and catch fans up on that finish. Leaders are side by side coming off of four. Scherer Jr. and Korosec, they're going to be side by side. Does Scherer Jr. have the speed to get it done? At the line, Scherer Jr. is going to get it in the numbers. So you saw it was a great finish last week just by a nose. Edward Scherer Jr. attributed his Chevrolet Monte Carlo with having just a little bit of extra length on the nose to get him that win over Steve Korosec. And that leads us to kind of a bigger discussion about points, Chris, because the points are a little bit different this season. You see Justin Wilson last week, Justin finished in the 12th position. But what Justin did last week that no one else did is he led a good portion of laps. Bonus points are awarded for each lap led. So we incentivize hard racing from the get-go. No holding back here if you want to get those bonus points. And as a result, our winner last week, Ed Scherer Jr., is in third in points, just 5 back, right? 8 points separating the top 4, but that shows you the importance of leading laps. Brad Patton also led 10 laps last week, getting him 5 bonus points. So very much importance placed on running up front early, and we're going to see a lot of drivers probably work on that tonight, kind of having the wake-up call of, wow, those points do make a difference. So interesting point scenarios, very close early on. We're going to set up a couple other stories for the race tonight, some stories for our viewers to keep an eye on. Just with about a minute left in qualifying or so, watching several of these cars make their way around. That last week's finish was amazing, Chris. Can we expect something similar tonight at a similar type of super speedway track, albeit a different car?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. This track right here, with the start-finish line being past the tri-oval, there's a lot of room coming off of turn 4. There's a lot of distance for a lot of things to occur. And, yeah, we saw a photo finish last week at Daytona, and this track historically has had more photo finishes than Daytona. So I would not be surprised if we saw one again tonight.
Absolutely, and one of the biggest factors in that photo finish last week was the third car, James Ledford, in terms of who he chose to help, and he chose to give the energy to Edward Scherer Jr., and that has a lot to do with who can you trust. Who do you trust to push you? Who do you trust enough to want to push across the finish line? We're going to see similar strategies play out tonight. Drivers are going to have to answer those similar questions of who are they going to dance with over the course of these 40 laps, and certainly who's going to be your dance partner in the final few laps. Also, new names. Big statements last week made by Edward Scherer Jr. in his first ever Slingshot Racing race. We've got several other new drivers in the field, including Raymond Hanneman, Steve Speece, Brad Patton, Kevin Winker, Rocky Boyd III, who had a great finish last week as well. Several drivers going to be looking to make a name for themselves tonight. And with all those drivers trying to lead as many laps, earn as many points as they can, and trying to get to victory lane, Chris, high speeds mean close quarters and very little margin for error. The big one tonight. We saw a couple of incidents last week, but we never quite saw a big one that encapsulated, 8, 9, 10 cars. So we're going to be on the lookout for that tonight. You mentioned to me in pre-race just how much more aggression you think we're going to see out of these cars, which have a little bit more maneuverability. Do you think we're going to have a big one tonight?
I think that the odds are probably always greater that we are going to have a big one, but these guys are really, really good on super speedways. That's why they wanted to race here. That's why they wanted to join this fall classic. So, I would say that this might be a lower possibility of a big one, than maybe our typical, like Apex Energy Series on Tuesday nights, where we race at a variety of tracks. But I still think that the odds are greater that we see one than we don't see one.
Well, we're definitely going to be on the lookout for that. Also, pit road entry is something that drivers are going to have to be careful of tonight, with at least one stop in order, possibly under green tonight, depending on how the cautions fall and how the race goes. Last week, we saw Johnny Rapp, who was in contention for the win late in the race, have some contact, got caught up in another car's incident coming onto pit road, just not getting slowed down quick enough. Gonna have to be careful, on the lookout for that over the course of the evening. You have to have clean pit stops if you're gonna make it to the end of the race tonight and you're gonna find yourself in victory lane. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But right now we're gonna be directing our eyes towards the front row. Let's go ahead and hit up the starting grid here for the Super Speedway Fall Classic Alabama 100. On your pole tonight, second place runner-up last week, Steve Korosec in that number 27, self-professed speedway expert. Scotty Sobczak is going to be joining him on the outside row in that number 81. I think he's got a picture of his baby on the back of that car tonight. Justin Wilson is going to have a great view of that, starting from fourth. To Justin's inside in the third position, his Payday Racing teammate, Johnny Rapp. Starting fifth, Raymond Hanneman, starting in the 85 car. Hanneman, sorry. James Suggs going to be starting in that yellow and white woo-woo garage in the sixth position. Patrick Colby starting in the 9 car from the 7th position. And then last week's winner, Edward Scherer, starting 8th. Chris Blassie in that blue and white or yellow car starting in the 15th position. That purple car of Kevin Winker going to be starting in the 10th position. Rocky Boyd's going to be starting in the 11th position in that number 16. Trevor Trago is going to be starting in the 12th position. I know we've got it listed in 13th, but Trevor Trago will be starting in the 12th position. Brad Patton going to be right behind Trevor in the number 1 car. Jay Heishman in 14th. James Ledford, last week's third place finisher, starting in 16th. And then Steve Spiess bringing up the rear of the field. And I guarantee you, the way these cars are running, Chris, Steve is not going to be there for long. So right now, drivers are working their way on these initial pace laps around the track. Pace car getting ready to pull off here. Steve Korosec going to be leading them to the line. Scotty Sobczak going to be second. Remember, this track is a little bit different. The tri-oval does not have the start-finish line. It's a little bit past the tri-oval, so these drivers will be able to drag race for just a little bit longer on those final laps. Right now, green flag is out, though, in race number 2 of the Super Speedway Fall Classic. Sobczak and Korosec are the front 2 cars. Rapp and Wilson right behind them. Drivers head into turn 1 for the first time tonight. 2 by 2 by 2. All the way back through about 13th or 14th place. Chris Korosec and Rapp have that energy on the inside. Rapp seeing if he can make the pass on Scotty Sobczak in the 81. Steve Korosec kind of playing in the middle here. That's the strategy we saw him do last week. Right now, it's going to get him squared up right in the middle of a sandwich between the rest of the field. He might have room to jump in front of the 85, but he does not have any friends with him right now, Chris.
No, he doesn't, and we're seeing everybody give him a lot of room. Patrick Colby way up next to the wall right there. Not want to run too close, and that is going to open up the door for James Suggs to jump in there underneath them as we see Justin Wilson go for the lead.
Justin Wilson to the lead. Drivers headed to the line for the first time tonight. 3 wide behind them, Suggs, Colby, and Hanneman on the inside. Colby has Edward Scherer Jr., last week's winner, pushing him up front right now. He's on that second row, now going for 5th place. But he's got a head of steam with Scherer and also Kevin Winker behind him. Colby on the outside goes for the lead. Sobczak in the middle. Justin Wilson with his Payday Racing teammate on the inside. But right now, it's that outside line that's got all the energy. But as soon as we say that, Scotty Sobczak, Steve Korosec, and the 1 of Brad Patton all fight back. And it is 3 wide all the way through the top 10 right now.
And it is intense. I don't think I expected this early in the race, but these guys are showing how skilled they are at this Super Speedway racing.
Absolutely, and right now we mentioned in pre-race, Chris, points are on the line. Every lap led means half a point in the driver's standings. You saw last week, it made a difference for Justin Wilson. This week, Wilson's looking to get more bonus points. He's got help from his Payday Racing teammate, Johnny Rapp. They're moving towards the front on the inside, but right now, 4 or 5 cars lined up in the middle. That is where the speed is. Scotty Sobczak getting a push from that black and red 27 of Steve Korosec, but Brad Patton not far behind. Brad Patton, great finish last week, 8th in the opener at Daytona, looking to build on that. Right now running in the top 5, but it is double file at the front. First 4 cars, you could throw a blanket pretty much over the entire field right now. Drivers head towards the start-finish line. There is no clear leader at this point. Sobczak is going to lead that lap, but he's going to do it by a nose. Patrick Colby further back in about the 9th, 10th position. He's got an outside line working. You can see he's one of the first drivers, Chris, who's moved up there to that 3rd lane all day long. So seeing if he can get some energy there. He was able to do it earlier, but how important is it to start testing out moves like that this early on in the race?
I think it's important. I think it's the best time to do it, because at the end, we know that if all these guys are still around, what you saw right there on the opening laps is probably how things are going to look, as Brad Patton is going to go to the outside here. If you can get a lot of cars lined up, and it looks like his help's going to bail on him, Kevin Winker goes back down to the middle lane here.
Oh, Scherer Jr. is going to jump up there and see if he can give Brad Patton a push in that number 1 car. So Brad Patton has some friends, got a little bit of help there. We'll see if it does him any good.
Yeah, you really have got to have a lot of cars that are really close together and can stay really close together. Anytime you see separation between cars, that's energy that you're losing, and sometimes you just can't help it. Like your car gets hot, you've got to duck out a little bit, you've got to give some breathing room, but these guys on the outside, both Patton and Scherer Jr., are making it work.
They are making it work absolutely right now. Single file, Steve Korosec is your leader, but 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th all on top of each other. 3 wide. Justin Wilson pushing Korosec on the inside. Wilson a little bit loose. It's going to allow the momentum to shift to the middle line between Scotty Sobczak and Kevin Winker. I know we've got some Winker fans in the chat right now. Also got some Patrick Colby fans. Kyle Dewey. Also, we appreciate everyone watching. Don Hilbrun's in the chat. Ellen Thomas in the chat. Chris Blassie also in the chat right now.
Hey,
not sure if Chris is typing.
That's Craig Blassie.
Oh, Craig Blassie. Sorry about that. My mind just automatically decoded that to Chris. So, yeah, Craig is watching Chris right now. So, appreciate Craig tuning in. Glad to hear from everybody. Let us know what driver you're rooting for in the chat. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like button as well. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us out immensely. Right now, all that help is coming on the outside. Brad Patton getting a push from Edward Scherer Jr., last week's winner. Got a big run on the outside right now. And that number 28 of Steve Spieth, Chris, we mentioned him starting at the back. He's already up to the 6th position in that black and silver Texaco car. What a great looking scheme that one is.
Yeah, what I'm
I know you're probably a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's a good looking ride. And what we're seeing is, it feels like to me that the middle and that the outside has got some really, really good momentum. And especially if drivers are really close together, lined up tight with each other. So, like what I'm seeing, I think it's really, really racy right now.
Absolutely. We mentioned the aggression is there, but right now, knock on wood, 7 laps down out of 40 tonight here at Talladega in the Slingshot Racing League Super Speedway Fall Classic. Clean and green to this point. Kevin Winker goes to the point with help from Patrick Colby, Edward Scherer Jr., and Justin Wilson, as well as Raymond Hanneman, all lined up on that outside line, Chris. Eventually, I'm going to get Hanneman right. But right now, double file all the way through 10th place, Chris. This is exciting. Brad Patton goes to the front also for the first time this evening, but you mentioned it. We're seeing the energy in that middle and outside line. So far, that inside line, if I'm driving in this race, I don't know if that's where I want to be in the closing laps because of the speed those cars in the middle and the outside are able to carry off the corner if they've got a car pushing from behind. Justin Wilson, a lone ranger up top, but he's got Raymond Hanneman coming up to give him a push as well. Driver's going to hit the start-finish line to take lap number 9 here. Kevin Winker still on the point. Patrick Colby, Chris, we had a discussion about Patrick Colby. He is a great super speedway racer. He won our last Slingshot Racing League race at Talladega a couple of weeks ago in the Apex Energy Series. And I know he might not have made a lot of friends doing it, but how important is it to be aggressive on these super speedway races? We've seen a lot of drivers doing that so early tonight.
Yeah, I think that it's very important. I think it's just a mentality that you got to have going into it. You know, and you don't have to be aggressive the whole time, but I think that you see the drivers who are aggressive, like they know where to put their cars, they know how to, you know, be comfortable in close quarters. As we see a lot of dicey action going on up
Scotty
here.
Sobczak and Kevin Winker. Steve Korosec has to get off the throttle headed into turn one. There is a log jam up front, Chris. Kevin Winker a little bit loose in the middle. Brad Patton pulls up to the back of him, but this is the closest we've seen these cars all night long. Several drivers doing a good job there, getting off the throttle, not trying to push through other drivers there with a bit of a slip up into turn one. So sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good, and yeah, I think that it does require a certain amount of aggression, and you know, you can ride around at the back, you know, and take it easy and be around at the end, but I think the drivers who are aggressive and race from the very get-go, they know, like, the energy in the pack, they know the energy from the runs. I think that they put themselves in the best position to be successful at the end.
Absolutely. Just talking about how much these drivers are trying to learn early on, whether they're running the outside or the inside or the middle. Where's the energy? Where do you want to be in those closing laps? Right now, seeing a little bit of energy on the inside line, Chris. Last week, this is an interesting pairing, just to bring up some memories from last week. The 81 and the 27 had some close calls. Great onboard shot there. Steve Korosec pushing the baby. Scotty Sobczak in the 81. Scotty's not the baby, but he's got his car on the rear quarter panel there, on the rear bumper. Last week, Korosec got into the back end of that 81 car pretty hard and sent Scotty Sobczak to the back of the field pretty early on. And I think maybe we're seeing a little bit more caution out of the driver of the 27 tonight. Probably a lot of excitement last week at Daytona. Right now, he's just dialed in, locked in to the back bumper of that 81. He's doing a good job so far, but not good enough job to keep Kevin Winker and Brad Patton, as well as Justin Wilson, from drawing up on the right side of that inside line as that line works the outside and has got a good head of steam headed down the backstretch here on lap number 12. Kevin Winker is your leader. He's led several laps tonight. Brad Patton has not gotten to the front yet, but he is working on it. And hey, Chris, there is Chris Blassie. I know Craig's going to be happy to see Chris right now jumping into the top 5 in that blue and orange number 15. That is a sharp-looking paint scheme there, that filter time. Chris Blassie, we've seen him be great on super speedways in the past, and he's proving that tonight.
Yeah, Craig Blassie, your dad right now, is third on the inside line, up here battling in the top 5. So he's always up near the front in these super speedway races, and showing it again tonight. And one thing I'm seeing right now is Brad Patton is not afraid to give a push to the driver in front of him. He is really laying the bumper to Kevin Winker, but he is doing it in a respectful manner. You know, he's not doing anything too egregious by any means, but man, those guys had a really, really good charge up the outside. Inside line is coming back here in the last lap, but I think that's something to keep an eye on, is how good the push is from that one car.
Hey, can we go back on board with the 42 rear bumper cam just for a second, Chris? I want to get a good look here.
Oh, he almost
at the number 1.
Yeah, he got kind of shuffled out. They got a little bit crossed up.
That was nuts. Yeah. That was nuts. That camera view was nuts, Chris.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah,
no, you're not going to take my bell. Okay.
I got it.
That's the pistachio
the
car.
pistachios machine in the one. Brad Patton up there on the outside.
But again, man, commentator's curse. It doesn't hold off. Not only do we have it in the Apex Energy Series, but it's transferred over to the Super Speedway Fall Classic. As soon as I brought Brad up and wanted that on cam, he gets loose and goes to the back. Right now, Brad Patton out front for a little while. He's going to jump to the back, probably wants to collect his breath a little bit, but there is no breath being collected up front right now. Scotty Sobczak, Steve Korosec, Kevin Winker, Chris Blassie, Justin Wilson are your top 5 here. Lap number 14 in the books at Talladega as the 81 crosses the line. Chris, can we just take a lap around, maybe in Chris Blassie's cockpit, just for a second, to give the viewers kind of a glimpse as to what these drivers are seeing and the low visibility that these guys have when they're riding around the track. Just listen in to Chris Blassie's onboard.
And the view that you're looking at right now out of Chris Blassie is right over his right shoulder. And the driver in third on either lane, the inside or the outside lane, they have a very important role. Their role is to stay as close as they can to that driver in front of them without touching them. You don't want to have the third car in line touching, and Chris Blass is doing a great job of that. He's staying really close. You see Raymond Hanneman up there on the outside, right behind Justin Wilson. He's also doing the same thing. He's trying to stay as close as he can to Justin without actually touching him as well. Because when you get three cars touching and pushing, that's when you run into trouble.
And no trouble tonight. Hopefully no commentators curse here. But 16 laps into book, Chris, we're just about 3 laps away from stage points being awarded at the end of lap 20. And that's probably why we're getting ready to see a bunch of movement. 3 wide now, 3 rows deep. Edward Scherer Jr. and Brad Patton on the outside. Kevin Winker in that purple car in the middle. And Scotty Sobczak in that white car on the bottom with help from Steve Korosec. Right now, it looks like the energy is on those top 2 lanes. Scherer and Winker going back and forth for the lead on the outside and the middle. Brad Patton helping Scherer and Justin Wilson helping Winker. 3 wide. Scherer gets a little bit loose on the outside. Driver's going to be coming out of turn 4 here onto the front straightaway. And there's going to be 3 laps until stage points are awarded here. Scotty Sobczak gets a lot of energy down the bottom. He is going to look to lead this lap. As we mentioned, laps led being very important, but that purple car of Kevin Winker is not going away, Chris. We've seen him up front more tonight than we saw him up front last week. He had a top 10 last week, but he has led several laps tonight, and I know, again, that is going to make a difference in the point standings, and Kevin knows it. Justin Wilson also wanted to get up there. Raymond Hanneman goes to the outside. He's got Scherer Jr. in that blue and black car behind him, pushing that red and white machine to the front right now. The 85 tries to go to the lead. He's going to have to deal with Winker, and Korosec is inside. The outside line loses a little bit of energy. Sobczak still leads the way, but now Winker's going to get a push from Wilson. He's going to try to lead this lap, just 2 laps away from stage points being awarded. Winker's going to lead that one. Korosec and Blassie pushing Sobczak on the inside so they get him back up front, Chris. This comes back to this idea of who can you trust. You got to feel comfortable with the guys behind you, with the guys beside you. And right now, everyone doing a really good job. The 85 of Hanneman making another run up the outside. He's going to try to make the pass on Kevin Winker in the middle. Right now, that 85's got a head of steam. He's got 2 fast pushers of Edward Scherer Jr., last week's winner, and Brad Patton, who had a great finish last week as well. But again, what we're seeing as big crash, Justin Wilson, Hanneman, Colby, several cars involved. Last week's winner, Scherer Jr., caution will be out here on lap number 19. Not sure what happened there. As soon as they made that turn into the tri-oval, all hell broke loose. We're going to try to get a replay here.
I think
this will definitely be no green flag pit stops.
I think it's going to be a push up on the outside from Edward Scherer Jr. to the back of Raymond Hanneman. It just went all wrong right there for those guys. I was hoping that we didn't have
how difficult it is to push in the corner, and it just gets that 85 loose. Several drivers might be able to walk out of this without a whole lot of damage. I'm not sure who those guys are, though.
I was hoping that we wouldn't have a lot of contact. See, Patrick Colby got up a little bit in the air right there. Raymond Hanneman and Trevor Trago with a lot of damage. Patrick Colby also has a lot of damage. I think Chris Blassie, Edward Scherer Jr., those guys might be okay. We'll go back again, and we'll try to watch from on board with Edward Scherer Jr. right when this wreck started. I think that Raymond Hanneman was was maybe running a little bit higher on corner exit than what Edward was thinking he was going to run, and it might have resulted in just hooking that left rear a little bit. Yeah, he got a little bit too far offset, and that unfortunately turned Raymond around, and
Collects Justin Wilson, who might have avoided serious damage. At the very least, we're going to definitely see pit stops here right now. Drivers are going to be coming down pit road. I'm seeing several drivers staying out, though, which is an interesting call because I know that they can't make it on fuel.
They're going for those stage points. They're probably going to pit on the next lap.
And so stage points will be awarded there. Kevin Winker going to walk away with the most stage points all the way down through. I'm looking to see. Looks like Johnny Rapp is possibly going to pick up the final stage point here, finishing 10th. He gets the benefit of being able to come to pit road, but he hasn't crossed the line yet. Looks like as soon as I say that, Steve Speece is going to get that point. So every single point matters right now. Steve Speece picks up that last stage point. Kevin Winker is still going to be your leader, and as you mentioned, Chris, the strategy here is let's stay out. This caution fell in a way that they do have to stay out if they want those stage points, which were awarded at the end of that last lap, lap number 20. So just taking a look at this replay of this lap number 19 incident, push gone wrong from Edward Scherer Jr. to the back bumper of Raymond Hanneman, takes out a handful of cars. And when I say take out, I'm not sure how many of these cars are going to be out of the race. I'm looking at Edward Scherer Jr., Chris. He's back up to 8th. Right now, Trago sitting in 9th. I'm not seeing any car looking. Chris Blassie's got damage. James Ledford's got damage and is in pit road. I would imagine a lot of these guys are trying to fix as much of this damage right now as possible on lap number 21. Just looking at their situations. Right now, 13 cars still on the track. 3 cars on pit road getting repairs right now after this lap number 19 incident, which we saw damage several cars off of turn number 4, Chris.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this replay?
Yeah, just trying to go back and see, maybe some other guys. I think Johnny Rapp got a little bit of damage. Looks like James Suggs and Jay Haishman are going to get by with very minimal damage. Yeah, I think Chris Blassie might be able to get... I think that several of these drivers might be able to get some of their damage fixed and return as long as they stay in the draft. Maybe they'll be competitive. We'll have to see how it all shakes out right here and how these cars look after getting some of their damage fixed. As looks like our guys who stayed out are now on pit road here.
Yeah, these guys are coming to the attention of their crew, and they are a lap later than normal just because they stayed out for stage points. Right now, Kevin Winker coming off pit road. Jay Haishman looked like maybe took 2 tires there along with Kevin Winker. Haishman's going to move up to that second car off pit road, so a little bit of strategy being called there. Several guys probably getting a little bit of damage fix here. Justin Wilson, Chris, playing the points game. He got damage in that wreck, but he's going to stay out to get those stage points and get that damage repaired right now. So different strategies going on. Looking at through the rest of the field, all the cars that we mentioned earlier, Blassie, Ledford, and Hanneman involved in that incident are on the track again after getting some damage repaired. So we'll be keeping an eye on those guys just to see how much that damage is going to impact their speed. With just about, this looks like it's going to be a restart with about 18 laps to go. And plenty of time for things to happen and for drivers to work their way back up here. I don't think anyone needs to be hitting the panic button quite yet here on lap number 22.
No, not at all. And what you're going to see on this restart, it's going to look a little bit weird because we had a lot of drivers, come in to get damage fixed. And obviously the guys who, elected to stay out for stage points, they're going to be starting further in the back. So you're probably going to see a lot of drivers lined up on the inside row. And so... That will make this restart look a little bit strange, but it's all because everybody's trying to just get some damage. Yeah, you mentioned Jay Haishman. Jay was riding around in the back, and he wound up missing that wreck. And he elected to take just fuel only on that pit stop, and I think that he did that because he wants track position. Maybe he's decided now after the wreck has happened, hey, it's time to race now.
Yeah, you got to know what you got. You got to know how things are going to go up front right now. And speaking of up front, pace car has peeled off. We're getting ready to go green once more here in the Super Speedway Fall Classic for Slingshot Racing League. Steve Speece is your leader. James Suggs second. Green flag is out. Speece hits the hammer a little bit late. A little bit of a stack up on that inside line. James Suggs is going to get the better start of the two. You're going to see if he's going to jump to the inside. That 20 does jump to the inside, leaves Chris Blassie and Raymond Hanneman on the outside. Hanneman in that last wreck will be keeping an eye on how much damage and how much that's impacted his car right now. Speece pushes 20 of Suggs. Johnny Rapp third in line. Kevin Winker is up to fourth right now, but you mentioned Jay Haishman, Chris, right before that restart. He's a lone ranger on the outside right now, but he's coming up with a head full of steam, seeing if he can get a run on that number 15. Going to lose that momentum here into turn number 3. Speece pushing the 20. Johnny Rapp pushing Speece. Blassie's going to jump down there to the bottom. We've got a 5-car breakaway up front right now, single file, but Justin Wilson not having any of it. He's going to try to fight back and see if he can catch this lead pack. Right now, Jay Haishman dropping like a rock through the field. Not sure what's going on, Chris, if those tires maybe are not as good as he thought they would be after a gas-only pit stop.
Yeah, I think that he just got hung out without any help, and yeah, that's, sometimes this happens after a big wreck where the field will calm down just a little bit, and especially with a couple cars getting damaged, you might see a little bit of energy taken out of the pack, guys running maybe slightly slower than they were before.
Absolutely, and this is definitely the calm before the storm here. Just about 16 laps left. Coming to 16 to go here in the Alabama 100 here at Talladega for the Slingshot Racing League. Johnny Rapp's got a slingshot on James Suggs, and Steve Speece, he's got help from his Payday Racing teammate, Justin Wilson, along with Kevin Winker in that purple car. 3 cars lined up on the outside, going by another pack of 3 cars. Chris Blassie with a little bit of a connection issue, but Scotty Sobczak and Steve Korosec also working their way up on the outside, trying to join that 3-car tandem on the outside right now. Suggs, Speece, and Blassie, as well as trying to figure out that car back there, that blue car.
I think that's Rocky Boyd the third.
Rocky Boyd, yeah, Rocky Boyd the third. On the inside, Chris, as soon as you mentioned some of the energy going away from the field, that energy has been injected right back into the pack here. Johnny Rapp in the middle. He's got a handful with James Suggs to the inside with Steve Speece pushing him, but Rapp's got a push from his Payday Racing teammate, Justin Wilson. All 3 lines look like they are in a good position here with lots of energy. There's no shortage of it right now on board with Justin Wilson pushing the heck out of that number 52 Mission Barbecue car right now. 15 laps to go. No shortage of excitement here at Talladega Super Speedway. Suggs on the inside, Rapp in the middle, and Scotty Sobczak on the outside. Chris, based on what you're seeing at this juncture in the race, if you're in that race car, where do you want to be right now?
It's hard to say. I want to be wherever the push is. If that's in the top lane, if that's in the middle lane, that's where I want to be. I'm not seeing as much energy out of the bottom tonight as I am in the middle lane and the top. It just seems like those guys that are, running the middle lane, running the top lane, they can get closer together with each other and run really, really close together. As soon as I say that, though, Steve Speece gets right on the back bumper of James Suggs on the bottom.
Yeah, so some energy kind of shifting around in the field tonight. Scotty Sobczak gets a little bit of a loose with a push from Steve Korosec. It's going to separate that first kind of row of cars right now. Johnny Rapp and James Suggs still battling in the middle and the inside. But right now, the best pusher, Chris, I think I've seen all night long is Justin Wilson in that number 58. He has not been afraid to go up there and push guys and give them fairly clean pushes. So, those 2 guys can trust each other. They are teammates. They work together on a weekly basis. And right now, it's paying dividends for Payday Racing, who's battling James Suggs right now on the inside. Now it's a 3-way battle for the lead, headed into the tri-oval to the start-finish line. Sobczak's got the push partner of Steve Korosec, last week's second-place runner-up finisher. Just about 13 laps to go here from Talladega. 3 wide, first 2 rows, top 6. Throw a blanket over them, folks. Right now, it is anyone's guess who's going to win. There might have been contact there between Johnny Raps and James Suggs on the inside. Spieth giving a real big push to the 20 as they get ready to head down into turn number 3. Chris Blassie also joining the fray in that blue and orange car. Energy, Chris, is just, it is, I know these cars aren't getting as big of runs and the pushes aren't quite as big as they were. Seeing, I believe that might be Raymond Hanneman coasting down the inside with a blown motor. That probably was a byproduct of that lap number 19 incident. That motor had just had enough. So the night is going to be short for Raymond Hanneman after his 4th place finish last week at Daytona. Probably not what he was looking for tonight, Chris. But put on a good show up till that lap 19 crash. Right now, great show down the backstretch right now. No single file breakaway, no single file racing here. These guys are going for every single point on the table, and it's showing right now.
Yeah, that was a little bit sketchy right there down the backstretch. You don't want to see, as Chris Blassie blinks out again right there, you don't want to see the car moving around right before it delivers a push. Because that will get that car in front of you out of shape. But they managed to hold on to it as we see these guys go around Edward Scherer Jr. and Patrick Colby. Those guys suffering damage in that big crash.
Yeah, just not speed left in the car after that crash. But they're staying out there to get the points because every point matters, Chris. In the series, 5 races, there is 1 single drop weight. So the lowest finish for each driver will be dropped, and the top 4 finishes will be what is counted towards the final point standings. Right now, James Suggs is your leader, but Johnny Rapp right there with him on the outside. Every single car all the way through 10th place is pretty much double file here. Just about 10 to go here from Talladega, Alabama, in the race number 2 of the Slingshot Super Speedway Fall Classic. Rapp getting a push from Justin Wilson. He looked like he wanted to take a nose to the right for just a second to get a breather on the front end of that number 58. Steve Spieth pushing the number 20 of James Suggs. And this is interesting because I don't think Suggs and Spieth necessarily know each other. They raced with each other last week a little bit, but Steve Spieth, new to Slingshot Racing League, still trying to feel everyone out. They're trying to feel him out as well. Do you think that's an advantage when it comes down to the final laps of the race, Chris, having someone behind you that you know?
Absolutely. I have no doubt that Johnny Rapp and Justin Wilson are talking to each other right now. Those guys are teammates. They've drafted together quite a bit in past Slingshot races, so you know that those guys are probably, they've got a game plan all set out. They probably have already talked about what they want to do as it gets closer to the end right here. Spieth is doing a really nice job of staying close to Suggs, delivering pushes to him, keeping him side by side with Johnny Rapp. The only thing that I'm a little bit nervous about is I'm seeing that 28 car move around a lot behind the 20. Hopefully we don't see those bumpers connect, sort of like what we saw in that earlier wreck where, they got offset to the left rear.
Yeah, that is what led to that lap number 19 caution. The car just getting a little bit loose with a heavy push from behind, and hopefully we can avoid that here in the closing 8 laps of this race. If you're just joining us, 8 laps left here from Talladega. Johnny Rapp in that black and orange Mission Barbecue car is on the outside, leading the way for the outside line. On the inside is James Suggs, who's been there for the past 7 or 8 laps in that yellow and white Woo-Woo Garage number 20. Right now, the racing is as hard as it has been all night long. Steve Spieth is the pusher on the inside, second in line. Second in line on the outside is Justin Wilson in that yellow and black car. Chris Blassie, third in line. And the guy we've heard from a little bit tonight, Scotty Sobczak, is the third in line on the outside, Chris. The one guy we haven't talked about who's kind of the wild card right now is you watch him duck to the inside on Chris Blassie. Is he going to take the run into the corner? He's going to think better of it. Is Rocky Boyd, the third in that number 16 car. He had a solid finish last week, finishing in the, looking to see where he finished, 15th. He led several laps last week, looking to capitalize. Oh, he pushes Chris Blassie into the middle. Contact between those two cars of Blassie and Rocky Boyd the third. I thought we were about to have a commentator's curse take 2 here tonight. Rocky Boyd going to take the inside line. He says, all right, thank you, sir. I'm going to give you a little bit of nudge, push you up the track. There's only 7 laps to go, so every position here matters right now.
And Rocky Boyd is looking to the inside again. He's seeing those guys on the inside lane. They're leaving a little bit of space, a little bit of gap between the yellow line, and that's an open opportunity for Rocky to try to make that pass. He's doing a nice job, even with a little bit of damage on that right front.
Yeah, doing a really good job. Right now, Scotty Sobczak, with the help of Steve Korosec, Steve Spees pushes up into the number 52, making Johnny Rapp a little bit uncomfortable. It's going to give Scotty Sobczak an opportunity on the outside with Steve Korosec, last week's runner-up, right behind him, Chris. 3 wide, first 2 rows. Chris Blassie on the inside, looking to work his way back by Justin Wilson. 3 by 3. Top 6 right now, Suggs, Rapp, Spees in your top 3. 4th is Sobczak, 5th is Wilson. Steve Korosec is 6th, but these are changing by the second. 6 laps left here in Talladega. Literally, you could throw a blanket over these cars right now and it'd cover every single one. Who do you think's going to win tonight? If you're watching in the chat, who is your pick to win, whether it's your favorite or not? Who do you think's done the best job and is going to hit victory lane at the end of the evening? Johnny Rapp is probably going to be a top contender here if he can stay out of trouble, Chris. He's got a great pusher in the form of Justin Wilson, but James Suggs got some folks in the chat saying they'd love to see James win. He has raced now with Slingshot Racing for a couple of seasons, and this is one of the best runs I've seen him have in a really good position tonight to capitalize and get his first Slingshot Racing League win potentially.
Yeah, we see 3 pairs. 3 pairs really stand out to me. Suggs and Spees working together, Rapp and Wilson, and then Sobczak and Korosec. Those 3 pairs have seemed like they've been committed to each other ever since that big wreck.
Yeah, and Korosec and Sobczak are kind of the unlikely pairing. We mentioned it last week early on in the first handful of laps. Korosec gave Sobczak a really big push and knocked him out of shape down the backstretch. But tonight, I'm surprised to see them working together as well as they are.
Yeah, I know that they were in their chat together last week, and I know Steve Korosec was very, very apologetic. He did not mean for that to happen last week, and I bet they're also in chat again tonight and trying to formulate a game plan here in these last 4 laps.
Absolutely. These drivers are definitely communicating with each other in their own private voice chats right now. You know Johnny Rapp and Justin Wilson are on their radios. James Suggs and James Spees we don't know about, but Steve Spees we don't know about. But right now they've been operating that inside line for the past 10 to 15 laps. We've talked about them maybe going up the track a little bit, but right now Steve Spees is doing what he's got to do to keep his dance partner James Suggs out front. Chris Blassie taking a look right behind them. As long as Steve Spees leaves that inside line open, Chris, it's an open invitation for Chris Blassie, as you mentioned earlier, if he wants to take it. Just 3 laps left here in the Alabama 100 at Talladega Super Speedway. 2 by 2 by 2, top 6. Steve Korosec in 7th is on the outside. The biggest question is, where is that energy going to come tonight? Is it going to be on the outside, or is it going to be on the inside? You see a big push coming from Justin Wilson to the back bumper of Johnny Rapp. It's going to get them broken away. The question is, will Wilson be able to clear Suggs as they come up on a pack of 3 cars down on horsepower from an earlier crash? Can those guys stay out of the way and let the leaders work their way by without incident here? The answer for now is yes. 2 laps to go here in Talladega. Chris Blassie drawing on the back bumper of Steve Spees, but up front it's Johnny Rapp and James Suggs with Justin Wilson and Steve Spees in tow. The orange and black car on the outside of Rapp, the yellow and white car of James Suggs on the inside. They go by James Ledford, a lap car on the outside. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. These cars are on top of each other. No clue who's going to walk away with this tonight. If you're in the chat, let us know. Do you think we're going to make it to the end without a caution flag? A lap and a half left here from Talladega. Here comes an outside run from Sobczak and Korosec. They've been dance partners all night long. They're going to wait. They've waited for their turn. They're going to the front, but looks like energy is going to have to wait just a little bit for the 81 and the 27 back there. James Suggs pulls away on the inside. Go ahead, Chris.
That slowed down Rapp and Wilson a little bit when those drivers jumped to the outside of them. Slowed them down a little bit as we come to the white flag.
1 lap left here. 3 wide for the lead. Sobczak and Korosec. The white and the red and black cars are on the outside. That black and orange car, Johnny Rapp on the inside. The 20 is on the inside. Oh, big
contact!
crash. The 20 and the 52 sobs at Korosec. They will race to the line. Justin Wilson is still your leader. He's got the 28 of Spieth and Chris Blassie in third. Haishman in fourth. Rocky Boyd in fifth. This is going to be a race to the line. These guys are neck and neck. Justin Wilson's got the orange and blue car. Blassie behind him. But right now it's all Steve Spieth. The question is, can the outside line get a run? Jay Haishman going to get in the 27. Steve Spieth is going to win it. Coming to the line, he's got no one with him. The 28 of Spieth is going to win. Chaos breaks out on the last lap here at Talladega. Spieth comes across the line first. Kevin Winker is going to come across the line. Looks like second. Chris Blassie third. Jay Haishman, after getting loose on the apron, is going to finish fourth. Justin Wilson's going to bring it home in fifth. Man, so much happened there on the last lap. We're definitely going to have to take a quick look at this, Chris, to see what exactly happened. Two incidents to kind of break down before we hear from our top three finishers.
Yeah, let's go back and let's see what happened to Johnny Rapp here. I think that maybe we'll try to see if we can see this from a different perspective. Yeah, let's watch the 20 of James Suggs. And it looked like he was
maybe a little net code there.
Yeah, there's some net code. He was also moving up just a little bit off the yellow line. See how much gap is there between him and the yellow line? Not much though. It's clearly obvious that there was a little bit of net code right here. We'll actually ride on board with Justin Wilson to give you a better perspective of it. Yeah, that's some net code right there. As unfortunately Johnny Rapp, James Suggs, Scotty Sobczak, they were all taken out in that last lap deal. And then things got really exciting. Chris Blassie almost turned Justin Wilson down the backstretch because he was trying to squeeze in a hole in the middle right there. But they worked their way through that. And Jay Haishman got turned by Rocky Boyd and right back in front of the field. And Steve Spieth was left all by his lonesome to come to the checkered flag.
All by his lonesome indeed. That is the view you definitely want at Talladega. No one in your mirror coming to that checkered flag. Steve Spieth is your winner. Kevin Winker second. Chris Blassie in third. I'm going to try to get these guys into the broadcast booth here for a second. See if we can grab a interview with them. Looks like we've got Kevin Winker in here. We're going to try to get Chris Blassie in here. Everyone looks like they're moving in slowly but surely. Waiting on Chris Blassie. Give us just a moment here. We'll go ahead if we need to hear from Kevin Winker first while we get Chris in here. Double check something. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hear from second place Kevin Winker. We're waiting on our third place finisher, Chris Blassie, to get in here.
I'll see if I can
Chris,
get him in here.
All right. I'll go ahead and bring in Kevin. Kevin Winker, this is Ellis Thomas and Chris Smith in the Slingshot broadcast booth. You got a copy, my friend?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, welcome to Slingshot Racing League. We haven't had the opportunity to chat via voice yet, but, man, what a crazy finish. Congratulations on that second place run tonight. I know you had rather been up front, but based on that chaos on the last lap, I'd safe to assume you're pretty satisfied with that?
Yeah, I mean, I won the stage, so I kind of got max points tonight minus the 0x, and then once I got stage win, led some laps, I kind of, in that big wreck happened, I was just going to kind of hang out back because I knew it was going to be another wreck coming. So I was just kind of riding around there the last, 15 laps, and the last wreck happened, and thought I missed it, but I got squeezed in the wall, but somehow kept it straight and came on P2, so pretty happy with that after last week's kind of disappointment, so I'll take it though. Yeah, man, slow and steady wins the race. You do have a drop week, so walk us through kind of the change in energy over the course of the race. Everyone stayed pretty clean first 20 laps up until that lap number 19 crash, and things kind of settled down for a while. What did you experience out there in terms of just how dicey things were going from your perspective? It wasn't too bad. I mean, I was up at the front in the middle lane. I really like that run in the middle lane here. You can really get the run off. The top's quick, but once you get up there 3 wide, it just stalls out. And I found it's a good way to get up to the front, but once you get up there, you just stall out. So, and the bottom is yeah, you can't go around the bottom. So I kind of knew I want to be in the middle, and then I don't know who was pushing me there that first half, but he was just pushing me along, leading laps, logging laps, and then we had that caution right at the stage break, and people were kind of back and forth on what they would do for points, and I figured I'd just stay out since I had a bad week last week, so stayed up for stage points and then pitted there, and like I said, then just fell to the back there after that, rode around for the big one on the last lap.
Hey, man, you definitely made the right strategy calls tonight. Kevin Winker, great job. You got any shout-outs before we let you go tonight?
Yeah, first as always, I want to shout out to Bruce Muehlberger Custom Homes, Cranbourne, sponsor me in all my leagues. Can't thank him enough. I know he watches all of them, so big shout out to him. Second shout out to all Winker Nation, my girlfriend Shauna, Brett, Nicole, Justin, Brandon, Dylan, all them guys every night that come out and watch me. It's kind of been a while since I've been league racing, a couple nights off, so nice to be back. I don't have any teammates, so I guess thanks to the league for putting this on, everybody. It's pretty fun, so hopefully we can go out next week and get a really good finish.
Absolutely, man. Be looking for the street stocks next week at Michigan. Kevin Winker, have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Kevin Winker. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and pull in Chris Blassie into the broadcast booth. I'll let you take this one away.
All right. Chris Blassie, our third place finisher tonight. This is Slingshot booth. You got a copy? Uh-oh. See if we can get him back in here.
Yep.
Hey, Chris Blassie, this is a Slingshot booth. You got a copy? Oh, no.
All right, might be having some issues. We'll go ahead and hear from our winner, Steve Spees. Let's see if we can get him in the chat right now. He was in here just a second ago. Give us 1 second. Not sure where these guys are going in the Discord. Oh, there's Chris Blassie, Chris.
Hey, Chris Blassie, this is Slingshot booth. You got a copy, bud?
I am guessing that is not the case. So while we take a second to see if we can get those technical difficulties worked out, Chris, let's just talk about the way things went tonight. Kind of a crazy evening. The first half of the race was pretty tame. What stuck out to you the most?
Just, the how aggressive everybody was, but how clean everybody was. They were aggressive, but I didn't see really any dirty racing. I thought it was very intense from the word go, and you like that. You get a little bit worried sometimes with plate races that maybe people will just ride around for a while, but man, we did not see that tonight at all. Everybody was super, super aggressive and really, really did their absolute best all night, and man, what a great show, and I loved the teamwork that we saw. Kevin Winker mentioned that he didn't have any teammates, but the way he drove tonight, I'd be working with that guy going forward if I didn't have any teammates.
Absolutely. I think we saw a lot of speedway racing prowess here tonight. I think guys learned a lot about each other. I know we had some incidents with several cars being caught up in it. This is the nature of super speedway racing. Live by the sword, die by the sword is the saying, Chris. A lot of excitement, but it can go south in a hurry, as we saw for several drivers tonight. So while we're going to see if we can grab Chris Blassie, we'll give it one more try here with the third place finisher tonight. I'm going to go ahead and pull it in.
Hey, Chris Blassie, this is the Slingshot booth. You got a copy?
All right. Doesn't look like it's going to work out tonight. Our interview going to be cut just a little bit short with some of these drivers after the race. But you mentioned it, Chris. The points tonight are going to make a difference. It's going to be a big shakeup. Let's go ahead and take a look at the finishing results and see where everyone shook out tonight. Several of our points leaders did not finish in the top 10, so definitely going to be a point shakeup. Our first place, Steve Spees, we're going to try to see if we can hear from him momentarily, but just looking through the rest of the field right now, you saw Kevin Winker. We heard from him in second. Chris Blassie third. Jay Haishman. He was up and down all night long, but ended up getting a solid fourth place finish. So great job for Jay. Justin Wilson involved in that lap number 9 incident is going to end up finishing fifth. Scotty Sobzak sixth. Rocky Boyd comes away with a solid seventh place finish. Johnny Rapp going to be eighth. James Suggs, we saw him push up the track on that final lap, leading to a collision and a big one, but had a good run. Really was leading much of the second half of the race, Chris. I know he's not going to be happy with that ninth. Neither will Steve Korosec, who finished in the 10th position. Spent a lot of time up front, worked with Scotty Sobczak towards the end, but not going to really see the benefit of that. I know he's not going to be happy with the 10th place finish. Trevor Trago is going to be first car a lap down in the 11th position. Brad Patton, we saw him up front early on. He's going to be finishing scored with 12th place finish. Patrick Colby got caught up in an earlier incident, as well as James Ledford and Edward Scherer Jr. Last week's winner, Chris, finishes 15th tonight, with Raymond Hanneman also involved in 2 incidents tonight, going to end up finishing position. So going to be seeing a big shakeup when it comes to points, but man, the excitement doesn't end tonight, Chris. We're headed over to Michigan 1 week from tonight. Same time, we're going to take the street stocks to Michigan. And if you haven't watched a street stock race, you've missed out. We ran a couple of recruitment races in the off season, and Chris, you told me 5 wide in these street stock races at Michigan. I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
I am too. I think it might be our best race of the season. And that's saying something because we've had 2 good ones to start out. So I'm really looking forward to it. That's a little bit of a strange combination. You wouldn't think, a street stock that you would see, at your local short track would go around Michigan, a big D-shaped 2-mile oval, the way it does. But it puts on a really good show. Those cars are really stuck to the track. And, if it's anything like that recruitment race we ran, and I have no doubt it will be, it's going to be a great show.
Absolutely. Well, join us next week. And we've also got the Apex Energy Series back in action next week on Tuesday night. We're going to be headed to Road America for the second of 2 road course races this season with the Sim Racing Concepts Grand Prix of Road America. Justin Wilson looking to see if he can claw his way back in the points to catch Jacob Bradley, your points leader, over in that series on Tuesday night, 8:30 Eastern Time. It's going to be a great race, Chris. We're going to be looking forward to it. Hey, everyone who joined in on the chat tonight, everyone who watched, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, we cannot say thank you enough. You are what make this possible outside of the drivers. We love having everyone in the chat. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us grow our channel and get your favorite drivers in front of more eyes. And we're looking forward to seeing everyone next week. For Chris Smith and Ellis Thomas, so well from Talladega, so long. Have a good night, everybody.